Week 12 preview. Let's get it.
Welcome to FaZe Fantasy Live with your host, Lonnie Z.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. This is FaZe Fantasy Live, and I am your host, Lonnie Z. Along with me is Jake Hansen, and we are going to be previewing Week 12's games. There were already 4 games played in Week 12, the 3 on Thursday night or Thursday for Thanksgiving, and then they had the very first Black Friday game. If you want to know what we had to say about those games, check out our Week 12 Thanksgiving preview show. We just recorded that, and so you can hear all about those games in that show. But in this one, we're going to be talking about the remainder games from Sunday to Monday night for Week 12 and what we think is going to happen fantasy-wise. This has been a crazy fantasy season. What's going on, Jake? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. So, Week 12, and it seems like we would have our thumb on really what's going on fantasy-wise in the NFL. And right when we think we're just, we're catching some of the trends and able to really predict what's going to happen, we're getting thrown curveballs, man. This has just been a crazy, crazy year. Like coaches have just totally changed the way they coach and how they use players, and except for Miami and Tyreek Hill, I mean, they're gonna use that guy. He's gonna get everything always. Other than him, man, it's been kind of crazy. So our first game of Week 12 is the Pittsburgh Steelers going to Cincinnati and playing against the Bengals. We have not been able to talk about the injury of Joe Burrow and what that means to the Bengals fantasy wise. So Joe Burrow is out for the rest of the year, and that the NFL is much better with Joe Burrow, much better. And because he's a first of all, from all accounts, what people say about the guy, he's a good guy, and he's an excellent football player, man. I mean, he really is. He's an excellent quarterback. The Steelers are favored to win this game by 2.5. So they're 2.5 point favorite. And the over-under is 35.5. Now, Joe Burrow is out. How does that affect Joe Mixon and Jamar Chase, bro? What do you think is going to happen in this game? And what fantasy players should we be targeting?
Fantasy-wise, it's going to be a gamble on the Bengals side. Joe Mixon, I think, should be fine. Pittsburgh defense is, they're stout. They have a good defense. Not. I think Joe will still have his chances to get some good yards and stuff, but I think you got to rely heavy on Joe Mixon. I think you do. You have to give him a little more passes, get him more in the passing game, and I think more, some more touches in the run. T. Higgins is out, so it's going to be Boyd and Chase. Browning's, he's coming in at 6,800 for Fanduel. That's a little high, for thinking for a guy starting his first game. That's a little high, man. It's a little high. They had Minshew like 64, 63, but Browning's coming in pretty high. Pittsburgh's offense is struggling. They got a new offense coordinator this week. It's really hard to pick somebody on that side of the ball. I know they want to get Pickens the ball really bad. Like they're talking about, they need Pickens to get the ball. He's at 6,500 this week. I honestly, anybody on the Pittsburgh side, Jalen Warren, Deontay Johnson, but Jalen Warren, Kenny Pickett does not look good. It's hard for fantasy wise. On the Bengals side, it's I don't think you're ever going to say not to put Chase in. You're not going to. He's a dynamic receiver. So for fantasy wise, I like Chase and I like Joe, but I really like Joe Mixon this week. They're going to have to just go through Joe Mixon. They have to.
Yeah, the Steelers are traveling too, and Joe Mixon, they're at home. The Steelers are rated 23rd in the league against the position, and so it is a real good matchup for Joe. And I think you have to get him the rock at least 18 to 22 times. He needs to carry the ball that amount of times because you're right. They're going to have to run their offense through Joe Mixon because if they can run it through Joe Mixon, and the Bengals have come from a stretch of pretty tough defenses they've played against the run. They just played Baltimore, second in the league. A couple weeks before that, they played Buffalo, a top 10 run defense. And then they had the Niners before that, fifth ranked run defense. So, them being able to play against a team that isn't so stout against the run, it should open it up because Joe still had good games in each one of those games. He had, fantasy relevant games, 18.5. He only had 11.5 against Houston, and then 15.3, 18.5, and this is FanDuel. These are FanDuel numbers, but he still had a real good games. And yeah, Jamar Chase, I think if you get Joe going, it does open it up. I like Chase too. Jalen Warren is starting to outpace Najee Harris. He's starting to get, carries right there with Harris. And even if he doesn't get as many, he's being more productive with what he's getting. Jalen Warren at 6,900 that's a deal right now, I think. Yeah, and I'm with you. I'm with you on Jake Brown, and he's 6,600. I don't know what to expect from him. No one does. It's not like this is his first season ever in the NFL. It's not like he's a rookie, but he's been with the team for a while too, so he should know the offense pretty good. And we'll see. But Pickens, yeah, he's 6,500. You just can't trust him. He's averaging 9.8 fantasy points on FanDuel. So yeah, that's who you pick. To me, this game's a toss up, and those are the players that I'd be looking at if I was gonna put anything on any of those guys in my lineup. The next game is Jacksonville. This should be a good game, man. Jacksonville and Houston, two teams. Jacksonville starting to get their mojo again. They got whooped by the Niners, came back last week, had a real good performance, did well. They're 7-3. They're 4-0, 4-0 on the road. Houston 6-4. They're 4-1 at home. Jacksonville is a 1.5 point favorite in this game, but the over under. This is the game for fantasy. If you look at the numbers, over under, this is the game you want to have some players from this game right here. It's 47.5 points. Who do you think is going to jump out? Who do we need to have in our lineups from this game?
Etienne Jr. Etienne Jr. You have to play him this week. You have to play him. They're going to be in the dome in Houston. I mean, I know he had a couple, last couple games was low, but I mean, if you look at his 3-4 games before that, he was going over 20 fantasy points in FanDuel. Last game he played Tennessee. They're really, I mean, they're a good run defense. Well, I guess they can be. How about that?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
but
right.
and then they had the Niners. But the games before that, I think Etienne Jr. on the Jacksonville side is going to be big. Trevor Lawrence looked great last week. I think he's going to have a good game. I think he's going to have a good game also. I think, like you're saying, this is going to be a good fantasy game. This is going to be a
Yeah.
good fantasy game. It's hard to pick the receivers right now with Jacksonville. Really hard. Ridley jumped up to 7,100. Kirk is 6,800. It was flip flop a couple weeks ago, right, Lonnie?
Right.
It's been flip
Yep.
flop. It's been flip
Right.
flop. So Jacksonville side, Trevor Lawrence, 7,800, but Etienne Jr. I mean, I am high on him. I could be wrong, but I am high on Etienne Jr. this week.
Yeah.
Houston's
I
defense,
agree.
rushing defense is ranked in the 20s, or on my thing, it's 18. But
Mhm.
and on the Houston side, CJ Stroud, he didn't have a great game last week. He did not have a great game last week. His receivers, Dale had a good game. Schultz had a touchdown, but you always run with CJ. You could always run with CJ. You could always run with Dell, and you always run with Collins. Devin Singletary's doing good.
Yeah,
Devin
man.
Singletary's doing really good. Yeah, it's a fantasy game. I mean, you honestly you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with this game. Trevor Lawrence,
Yeah.
Etienne Jr., Christian Kirk, Ridley is a toss up. It's just you never know. It's hard with Ridley. And then on the other side, Houston, C.J. Stroud, Devin Singletary, Collins, and Dell, and Dalton Schultz. I mean, you cannot say not to do it because this game is going to be a high scoring game. It's not like Jacksonville against the Niners, or Houston against the Ravens. It's two teams that are going to score some points.
I agree. And the crazy thing is, we're sitting here and we're saying that, CJ had a bad game last week, and he did. But I guess a bad game for him is 27 to 37, 336 yards, 2 touchdowns. The 3 interceptions was the bad game part, right? And
That's
and and he
yeah,
only had 18
yeah.
8 and he only had 18 fantasy points, which is pretty good for most quarterbacks. So we're starting to talk about him like that now, which means this kid's pretty good. And if that's his bad game, right? And it was a
Because he
bad
had
game.
18 fantasy yeah, because 18 fantasy points. When you're
Yeah,
paying that,
right?
that was a bad game for us,
It, it, it was a bad game. And that's what my whole point is. He's good. He
Yeah.
when we said he has a bad game and he's still giving you 18 fantasy points, that's pretty good. So I'm with you, man. I like ETN. I like Tank Dell, Trevor Lawrence. I like CJ Stroud. Um, ETN's a little expensive, $8,600. That's expensive. Tank Dell's to me very expensive, $7,800 for Tank Dell. And he can give you a zero, man. He can give you, he can give you 5 or less points too on any given Sunday. So I think
Mhm.
the value would be more a Nico at 6,900, or even if you're looking for one of their receivers. I was gonna say Noah, but Noah Brown is out with his
He's
knee.
out, yeah.
So
That's what I was trying to figure out right now before you said that. He's out.
yeah, so Noah Brown is out. So I think Tank Dell, Nico, but I like Nico better at the price point against that
Dalton
defense.
Schultz could be, Dalton Schultz could be too. Dalton Schultz,
And Dalton
he
Schultz for sure at
yeah,
the tight end, 6,800. It's a little high. He's
a
he's
little
he's
high.
rising up there.
Uh-huh.
But I think a better value might be Evan Ingram, man, 5,800. And Evan Ingram has not gone crazy lately. Matter of fact, Evan Ingram has not gone crazy all year.
No.
11.8 points. That's his highest. So you can look at a couple ways. You might be building your team and you want to go cheap on the tight end. If you want to go cheap, you can go with Evan because he's due to have a big game.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
he is due. And as far as man, Singletary's made a believer out of me. It's like use that man the right way, and he's a good running back.
That's why that's why it kind of sucks about Pierce, because Pierce looked really good last year. I just don't know what happened. I don't know if they're changing their scheme with Singletary, but Pierce looked good last year, and he's not old. Pierce is
No.
a second year player, and
Yep.
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it changes.
Yeah, so that's the game that you definitely want to get into. Any of those guys that we said, depending on how you want to build your team. ETN's a little steep on the price, but he may cash for you. Um, let's get into the next game. And by the way, I have Jacksonville to win that game in a close one, but I think Jacksonville. But I wouldn't be surprised if the kid Stroud made me eat crow next week. Tampa Bay at the Who do you got to win that game? By the way,
I've been really flip flopping on that one, be honest. But I can't see Houston winning just another one right now. Beyond, I mean, they're a good team, but I don't think they're like a dominant. So I'm going with Jacksonville. Jacksonville dominated pretty good last week.
gotcha. Um, the next game, the line is 2.5. Indianapolis is a favorite, 2.5 points. And this is another over under that's kind of a decent game to get into. If you can get into this game, get into this game. 44.5 points over and under. It is the Lions and the Buccaneers. I'm sorry, the Colts and the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are traveling to Indianapolis. Indianapolis, they're 1-4 at home. They're 5-5 overall, and they're 1-4 at home. That's not good, man. That's not good at all. And the Buccaneers are 2-3 away, and they're 4-6. Who do you like in this game?
I think this is a game that you could actually start your team with one of the quarterbacks if you want to cheap, if you want to go cheap quarterback. If you want to go cheap quarterback and stack your, get the best running back and the best receiver, like you're saying, ETN Jr. was 8,700. You could get one of these quarterbacks and put ETN Jr. in and be okay. And you could go get it one. I mean, you put Mike Evans in. Mike Evans is, you know, I don't have him up right now as my price. He's eight. He's
8,000.
8,000. If you don't go that way, I like Josh Downs on the Colts side. I really like Josh Downs. He cheap receiver, to stash. And I like Rashad White this week, man. Rashad White every week. Rashad White.
You know I was going to get it.
Rashad White has been every week, man. He didn't do too bad against the Niners. And that's a running back I am putting in my lineup this week, man. So just think about that, Lonnie, when we talk. Rashad White, man. I think this. I have a feeling, man. This week in the dome, I like Baker this week. This is another one, just like the game we talked about. You could put a lot of guys in on this lineup, Michael Pittman Jr., because you're not playing great defense. You're playing good defense. Tampa Bay is not a bad defense. They held the Niners up a little bit last week, but a Baker didn't look too bad against the Niners defense last week. He didn't do too bad. He made some throws. He had a lot of chances in the end zone, but you know, uh, on the Tampa Bay side, I like Baker Mayfield and I like Rashad White and I like Mike Evans. Chris Godwin's starting to but a Kate Otten has been doing really good. Tight end wise, he's been looking okay. He's been getting there. He's a cheaper tight end, but and on the Colts side, I like Jonathan Taylor, of course. Like we all know that. But Minshew could be a good one this week too, man. Like he's cheap. Minshew could be a good play against Tampa Bay's defense at home. I could see him slinging the rock 300 yards. And I like Pittman Jr., but I'd like Downs this week. I really do. I like Josh Downs.
Yeah, I'm with you. I do like Rashard White, and he is he's 7,000, which is fair. But I had him on the screen because look at the defenses he's played. He hasn't really played an easy run defense yet this year, and for the last 5-6 games, he's really started. I think they've started using him differently, more towards his skill set, and he's showing you that he's a good running back. He is. There's a lot of hype coming into the season about Rashad White, and he's starting to show it. Yeah, I have no problem having him in a lineup this week. And you're right.
He's going to be a chalk, though. He's going to be a chalk. That's a
Yeah,
guarantee. He's going to be a
yeah.
chalk.
And if you look at the either Baker Mayfield or Gardner Minshew, if I look at either one of those, if I was starting a team with a cheap quarterback, I'd rather start Minshew, and then I'd probably
Same
stack
here.
him with Pittman Jr. because Pittman Jr. still gets all the targets. I mean, tons of targets, and
Yeah.
they haven't played against an easy pass defense yet this year. It's all been either mid or top 10 or middle of the road kind of tough defenses against wide receivers. And Pittman has really held his own over the past 5-6 games. He's been very, very consistent. 7,600 is a little steep. So with that in mind, yes, I think Downs is a much better value at 5,900. And Josh Downs, he's able to really make some plays. Even though lately, the last couple of games, he's had a couple of downs games.
He went out with an injury. The one he scored 1 point, he went out with an injury.
Yeah, and so and they didn't target him the last 2 games, but it could be because he did go out with the injury against Carolina, and then last week against New England, he was just coming back, so that could have something to do with it. But I expect him to get more targets this week.
He could be the player that he's the last one on your roster when you hit submit.
Yeah,
He could be that guy. You know what I mean? He could be that guy that you're like, oh crap, we need a cheap guy. Go,
yeah, for sure. And Baker and Mike Evans, you almost can't ever go wrong with Mike Evans this year. 8,000, it's a little steep, but Mike Evans can have a 50-point game. He,
Yeah,
he still
it's a
can.
little. He's a little steep, but I don't think you would like stack this game to do like a Rashad White, Mike Evans, and then go across the
No,
board. I think if you get one Tampa Bay person, I think it's just Rashad White. To be honest.
yeah, and I like Indianapolis to come away with this with the victory, and I still, even though you have to play Jonathan Taylor. I'm not saying you have to play him in daily. You don't have to play him in daily. He's 7,500, which is still a fair price for Jonathan Taylor. He still hasn't had a breakout this year, 20-point game. So that's coming though for Taylor. As long as he's healthy, that is coming. And I do like Jonathan Taylor this week too. And at tight end in this game, like you mentioned, Kate Otten, he's a very, very inexpensive tight end at $5,000. That's very cheap, and he's getting the targets. He just hasn't really gotten the touchdowns. A few weeks ago, he got a couple touchdowns, had a big game, but I think he's able to do that again at some point. And then Grayson on the other end, he's got a real good matchup this week against the Buccaneers. They really don't rank well against tight ends. They're like the bottom, 30. They're like 30th, but he still doesn't get a ton of targets, with Grayson. So Kalen Grayson. So yeah, and I like Indy in this game. I like Indy to win, even though Tampa Bay just keeps hanging in there.
Indy's been on a little skid. I think they've been, I think Indy's going to win that game also.
Yeah, New Orleans and Atlanta. Now, New Orleans and Atlanta, that's a very interesting game. To me, it's like a mirror. It's like two teams that are kind of mid teams. They're not very good. They're not very bad. They have decent defenses, okay offenses, a lot of talent on offense, but their coaches don't know what to do with it, kind of. You know, in the same division, they're 5-5 and 4-6. They're in Atlanta. So New Orleans is 3-3 away, and their record's 5-5. Atlanta is 3-2 at home, and they're 3-6. So much for Ritter not losing a home game. We called it. We said he would this year. We knew that was going to happen. And so, who do you got?
I think it's going to be a tough division game. This game is pretty much who's going to be in first place. Being sad.
And the Saints are favorite. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Not
Saints
good.
are favorite by 2 points, and the over-under is 41 and a half, 41 and a half. So go ahead.
Both these defense are weird, man. I mean, they're not bad defense. We've been talking about this all year. It's like they're not too bad of a team, like bad defense wise. The Saints, like you said, I mean, it's like a mirror. It's like, and it's hard. Like I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, okay, but Bijan, and like, man, the Saints, a seventh best defense in the league right now. A Ritter is going to start this week. I wouldn't touch him. Wouldn't touch Ritter this week. He's starting, but I wouldn't touch him. But John, he's been really he has. I mean, I know last game he did all right, but just before that, he's been really struggling. But John's been really struggling. Drake London hasn't been getting the love at all. He's been, it's just pretty much if you're going to start anybody on Atlanta, it would probably be, probably one of the tight ends and maybe Bijan. Pitts or Jonu, but Jonu he was hot. Then it seemed like he's slowing down. But Bijan hasn't really showed too much to be start Bijan Robinson.
Yeah.
Saints defense is tough, and on the Saints side, Kamara, you got to play Kamara, but he's big time, 8,700. If he's on your on your redraft league, you have to play Kamara. You're going to play Kamara, but like on daily fantasy, he's a lot of money. $8,700, and but he's been consistent here and there, and Christian Olave, last couple of games he's been doing good, but Olave and Kamara for sure start on my side, and on the Saints side and Atlanta side, you want to throw Bijan, throw him, but I think it's one of the tight ends on the Atlanta side. To be honest, it's just really tough, and Michael Thomas got put on the IR, so you could, if you wanted a cheap receiver, you could put in a Rashid Shaheed. He's 5,800, and when he starts, he doesn't do too bad. He gets his targets, so I think Rashid Shaheed could be one that could do good for you too, on a cheap on the cheap.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think about Taysom Hill, man? What should people be doing with Taysom Hill? Because he's
He
had a couple of games.
is
That's always Taysom, right? 2 or 3 games that is like
he's
he's on
that
fire, and then the gadget guy.
he's that he's that dirty ass penny that you find in the conch on the street when you walk up to it and you grab it and it says 1940. You're like 1940.
Right.
Like, holy crap! I just found a 1940 penny
Right.
once in a. You know what I mean? It's like really like, and it's clean. It's not even dirty. Like what the hell? It just, you know what I mean? He's like that one that he's just you. I don't know, man. I've had him on my team before, but I've never played him. I never start him. I never pick him up. That guy is probably the most dropped and picked up guy all year on a fantasy football league.
Yeah.
Taysom Hill.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean that he is hard to put. I mean, he might get 1 carry, he might get 1 pass, and the next week he gets 10.
Yeah.
I it's just I there's nothing there that I could say, "Start Taysom Hill." There's no
Yeah, you
way.
can't trust
Not
him.
not on my side.
Yeah.
Yeah, not on my side.
And getting back to Bijan, with Bijan, we said a few weeks back, what the hell are they doing? They want to give Algier the same amount of carries. Just give him those other carries and see what he can do. And if you look at Bijan, when he gets the carries, he had 22 last week. That's the most he's had all year. Week 2, he had 19, 124 yards with 19 carries. And then last week, he had 22 carries, 95 yards. I think Bijan is the type of player that if he does get the ball 20 times, he'll be very fantasy relevant for you. At $7,400, even against the second rank defense, he would be okay if you knew he was going to get it 20 times. But that's the problem. You don't know he's going to get it 20 times, and then that's too steep against a good defense. So I would fade Bijan also. I do like Alvin Kamara to have a bounce back game, even though that Atlanta defense against the run is tough, man. They've proven to us that they're better than we had thought that they were. Olave is a good play. Um, and I don't know, is Derek Carr does not have a designation, so I assume he's starting. So do you even want to go with Olave? Because Derek Carr looks horrible this year. He really looks horrible. And then Drake London with Mac Hollins being out, Drake London, or like you said, either Jonnu Smith or Pitts. One of those you can start. Drake London is only $6,200, and I don't, I wouldn't be opposed to starting him, but I think you could find some value elsewhere, from somewhere else, on another team. This game, I don't know, man. I don't know who's going to win. I'll be honest with you. I have no idea. I'll take the home team. I'll take Atlanta just to get it done, but watch New Orleans probably win the game.
Yeah, it's a really rough fantasy one this week on this one. I mean, honestly, we could have not picked anybody.
That's true.
To be honest,
That's true.
I think Kamara pretty much is the only one that I would say do it for sure. But like, if you need a cheap receiver, like I was saying about Rashid, you need a receiver that you did a tough lineup, and and you need somebody low. You take a chance on a Shaheed. You take a chance on them, like Josh Downs. They're at the same price
Yeah.
right now, so those guys they're a number 2 receiver. So you never know.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't have any of those guys on my team this weekend. I probably, for daily fantasy, I probably would not. Year long's different. You know who you have to start and who you shouldn't start. New England and New York Jets, two really bad teams. Really bad teams. The Patriots are 3.5-point favorites, and the over under is 33.5, and that's about right, because these two teams are not good. Neither one of them are good, and I don't see that changing. I probably wouldn't play Saquon Barkley this week. He's $8,000. Only reason is because Belichick still, all he does is try and take away your number one guy. And so he's going to have a bunch of guys in the box, and he's going to really try and stop the running game and force DeVito to throw the ball to beat him. So that's a little steep for me for this particular week to run Saquon on a daily fantasy. Ramondre Stevenson, on the other hand, is a great value, $6,800. He's going to get the majority of carries, and he's another guy, but look, he got 20 carries last week, only had 88 yards, did not get in the end zone, only had 11 fantasy points on FanDuel. But the week before, he had 9 carries, 87, but that's the week he had a big run. Remember that big reception or run? I think it was a big reception,
Yep.
or one of the
Yep.
two. He had a big play in that game, and he got the 20 points. But I'm fading everyone on both of these teams. They would not get on my FanDuel. I'm not looking for values in any of these guys. Personally, I'm not seeing it. If you see it, you could tell me who are you looking at in this game?
Giants defense.
Yes. Yeah. That is true. I agree with that.
That's it. Like we say, make us hit that crow button next week.
Well, you can go either defense, actually. I mean, they're
Yeah, but
both
I think
about the
I'm
same
going.
price.
Yeah, but I think I'm doing Giants defense this week. Any lineup I do, I think I'm doing Giants defense. Giants defense. That's what I'm saying. Giants defense, the only one I would take.
Yeah, I feel you on that one. All right, next game is the Panthers and Tennessee Titans, and it's another game with just two teams that are going nowhere. They're going nowhere, and finally, Riverboat Ron doesn't have his team in a position that we look up and saying, "Dang, they're in first place in the South." Nope, not this year. They're 3-7, and all three games are home games. This particular game is a home game. They are 3.5 point favorites. Over and under is 36.5. And I just, you know, at least there are some players that you can seriously look at in this game and consider playing. Who are you looking at in this game?
So Carolina's got the worst rushing defense. Derrick Henry. I would, do Derrick Henry, but Derrick Henry's 7,800. I mean, that's mid, a little bit over mid grade. Um, I was hearing some things. Being in Tennessee, Will Levis, this might be, a home game. Man, Carolina's doesn't have a bad passing defense. They're ranked, they're top 10. So, and you don't see a lot of teams just carve up Carolina's passing defense. You don't. I mean, they run on them and they stuff like that, but they don't really like blow them out too much. So I'm not touching Levis. I'm not touching D Hop. I mean, you can probably touch D Hop. D Hop's been getting a lot of targets, but here and there. But Derrick Henry's probably on the Tennessee side. I like Derrick Henry a lot. Carolina side's just, man, I don't. It's just I don't know. Carolina side's rough. Adam Thielen, he's probably the one. He gets his, but 6 points, 9 points, 12, 14, 12. On the Carolina side, even Chuba's not really getting too much. I mean, over 10 points. Like Bryce Young, you ain't touching Bryce Young against 10. I mean, 6, 9, 12. I mean, it's pretty much a Derrick Henry game and pretty much an Adam Thielen game. But honestly, I would not pick anybody for daily fantasy on this game. Maybe Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is probably the only one I would do daily fantasy on.
Yeah, the price points are kind of difficult to really go off after anyone on this team
Yeah,
from this game. Derrick
exactly.
Henry or Adam Thielen, which both are, good players, and they have been decent fantasy, like daily fantasy players this year. But I'm with you. I probably wouldn't. I probably fade this whole entire game. Even the defenses, I wouldn't go get Tennessee's defense right now. And Chuba doesn't. There's just no one here, and Will Levis. Now he's gonna have to show me something before I ever go back to him. It's just that simple. That first game showed me something. I'm like, oh wow, we might have a young quarterback here, gunslinger, and then fizzle, fizzle, fizzle. But those were road games. This would be his first game back, I think, right at home. Is this going to be his first game back at home? Yeah, it'll be his first game back at home. So we'll see how he is home to road, but he won't be on my fantasy team. I'm not taking another chance building. I can get another quarterback at 6,700 that I trust better,
No.
like we said, Minshew or
Yeah.
Baker.
Yeah. I mean, I like Henry, and I like Henry a lot, but but that's a lot of money, man. You just don't know what Tennessee's going to do. If they're going to run him, sometimes they don't run him at all. Sometimes they run
Yeah,
him a lot.
yeah, he's not averaging. Last two games he's averaging 10.5 carries a game, so that's not much at all.
You don't know what.
7,500.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't know what you're going to get.
Yep, and in
Exactly.
that game, I'm not sure who's going to win. I would say Tennessee gets it done at home against the Panthers, and the Panthers leave one and
Same here.
10.
Same
Um,
here. Same
this
here.
next game could be it could be interesting, just kind of entertaining and interesting because there are some fantasy players in it for sure. This is one of those games that you can run some guys out there. It is the Los Angeles Rams and the Arizona Cardinals. The Rams are 2.5 point favorites. The over under is 44.5. Kyler Murray coming back to that team, man, has changed the way they look. He really has. And I know there's a lot of different views on Kyler Murray, but he's showing me that he's still a good quarterback. It's a good fantasy quarterback for sure.
I don't think he's the quarterback to bring them over the top, though. I don't think he's the one.
Puka Nakua is $8,200, man. Now Cooper Cup had the ankle injury, but Cooper Kupp does not have a designation coming into this game. He's not questionable or
They said he's
anything.
playing.
Yeah.
They said he's playing.
So $8,200 for Puka Nakua to me is a little steep, and I don't
S
care,
so I'm sorry, keep going. Keep going.
Cup was injured and he's not been very good the last 2 games, and even the game before that, man, he had 10 targets, only 4 receptions. Other than his second game back, we haven't seen Cooper Kupp look like Cooper Kupp. So I don't think I'd be playing him in daily at 8,000 or Puka Nakua at 8,200. Um, Kyler Murray, I don't think I'm starting him. I'm not building my team around him. James Conner, 6,600 James Conner. I may look at him, at that price range when I'm building the team and depending on what I need at running back, I may look at James Conner. But other than that, Trey McBride is probably the only guy from this game that I'm really considering. If it's year-long league, it's different, but daily, probably Trey might be the only one I'd really be seriously considering. What about you?
So this has, the Rams have a lot to play for this week with Seattle losing yesterday. Um, the Rams win this game, they're right there with Seattle for second place and right there in the playoff run. So yeah, I mean, I'm not saying, and I know you're not saying don't play Koopa or Puka and don't play Cup, but it's a lot of money to play one of them right now. It's a lot of money. I think Puka's going to go have a great game. I really do, but that's a lot of money, man. That's a lot of money taking a chance. Puka has been injured a little bit. Cup's been injured a little bit. I think Puka's going to have a good game against the Cardinals. But because the Cardinals give up a lot of big plays to receivers. I mean, they just gave up a lot to Houston, but they're a lot of money. I mean, you want to spend the money, but I don't think there's value there, and that's what Lonnie's trying to say. There's not a lot of value there with that price. Kieran Williams is back. He's supposed to play this week, but coming off a high ankle sprain, that's a touchy subject there. But playing against the Cardinals, the run defense ain't great, but he's supposed to be back, right? I mean, I seen yesterday he was back.
Yeah, there's the report here is saying that he's had full practices the last 3 days, and that there's no designation for him, so he's not on the injured report.
But I'm not playing him at $8,200. There's no way.
No,
I ain't
no,
paying
for
82
year
for him.
long. Hey, for year
So
long, if you got him back, you could throw him in your lineup. Heck
yeah,
yeah, right?
yeah. For FanDuel, no. I mean, we're just saying for FanDuel, but on the I agree with Lonnie. The only guy I would probably play this week is Trey McBride. He's probably the only one I would play, and I would probably look at James Conner a little hard on James Conner. I would probably look at him a little harder, but I think the only one I'd probably play this week is Trey McBride. Not too expensive, and I would play Nakua and I would play Cup, but just the price is a little high, a little high.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I do have the Rams to go ahead and get that win, even though
Yeah, same here.
Kyler
I have the
Murray has
Rams winning.
made the Cardinals a lot more competitive since he's gotten back. That is for
Mhm.
sure. All right, so now we're going to get into a little AFC matchup here. The Browns and the Broncos. The Cleveland Browns are 7-3, and they really have, this AFC North is on the line here. They have to continue to win. Broncos coming off their big win against the Vikings to get themselves back right at 5-5, which was a very good win for them. Horrible loss for my Vikings. Yes, I said my Vikings. Yeah, that was a bad one. I'm glad we didn't talk about that one. I
I
probably couldn't handle it.
I forgot to even say anything to you. That
Oh,
was
good, man.
I woke up. I went to bed and I
Appreciate
woke
that.
up. I couldn't believe it.
Right? Uh,
No, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my gosh.
w-
It's. I mean, I hate. I mean, you're probably, but Josh Dobbs being Josh Dobbs. Josh Dobbs could be something, and then he shows that he's not.
yeah, I think it had a
That he's
lot.
not.
There's a lot going on in that game, but we're not talking about that game right now. Uh,
No,
I think Josh is their least of their worries for that particular game. This game, though, bro, Denver's
I know.
Denver's a 1.5 favorite in this game, and that's because Deshaun
That's
Watson
crazy.
and
Is out.
yeah, that has to be the reason because I see no reason that Denver should beat Cleveland. But when you think about Deshaun, you know, I still don't think that that's enough reason for Denver to be the favorite here. Russell Wilson has been playing better, but that Brown defense is tough, man. It's real against the quarterback. They lead the league against the quarterback, and so they're going to have to deal with that. Dorian Thompson, Robinson, he hasn't been great, but he got it done last week. He got it done. And if Jerome Ford's running the ball well, Jerome Ford has a great matchup this week because Denver
Yeah.
is bad.
Yeah.
And I know they keep saying, well, that's because of that Miami game. That's why they're so bad. They've been a lot better since then. And that's true. They have been, but they're still one of the worst or the worst team against the run. So I like Amari Cooper at 7,000. I'm okay with Amari. My only reservation would be Dorian Thompson, being the
Yeah.
quarterback
Same here.
with Amari.
Same here.
Jerome Ford, I think he's a lock at 6,700. He's a good play in this game, this weekend in daily fantasy.
Mhm.
I like Javonte Williams. I don't know. It's 6,400. I like him at his price range, but I don't know if I'm going to trust that he's going to give me enough production. Javonte. Overall, I'm not thrilled about any of these players on either side. I think that I'm probably going to be fading this game, 36 and a half over and under. I'm probably not going to play anyone other than possibly Cleveland's defense. I may do that. If I was looking at Cleveland's defense, that defense is 4,800 on FanDuel. The Broncos defense is 4,100, and that may not even be a bad play because they looked good against the Vikings, and that might not be a bad play in this game. Who do you like in this game? Like,
On the Cleveland side, Jerome Ford's lock. That's the main one. It's a game that you just don't know. It's not really powerful on the Cleveland side with Robinson in. Uh, on the Denver side, I don't like nobody. I don't even like Williams. I mean, this is one I probably would not put in for a FanDuel league on a FanDuel team. Jerome Ford is probably the only one I would 100% Jerome Ford. Just Cleveland is ranked number 1 on the rushing defense or ranked top 10. Javante's been having, he had a little issues against the Vikings last week, and the Vikings got a top 10 defense, run defense. So as of right now, only person is Jerome Ford.
yeah, I'm with you on that, man. I'm real comfortable with that, and like I said, possibly I would really consider Cleveland's defense over Denver's
Yeah,
defense for sure.
yeah.
But other than
Uh-huh.
that, yeah, I'm with you. And I have Cleveland to for sure win that game. I think they just figure it out. I like Stefanski as a coach. I think he's a good coach. He's had a lot to deal with this year, and he's still got that team at 7-3. So, and they're not in an easy division. The Steelers are seven
Yeah,
and three. The Ravens are
I like the
seven.
Browns.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like the Browns this week.
yeah, I'm with you. All right, so Kansas City, they go on the road this week to play the Raiders.
Raiders.
7-3 and 5-6, and the Raiders, you know, have been hyped and hyped and hyped and hyped and hyped, and they finally
They haven't played, yeah, but they haven't played too bad, man.
no, they
That Miami game, they could have easily won that game.
yeah.
I watched that game. That was a crazy game.
Antonio Pierce has these guys believing for sure.
Hmm.
But they didn't smoke a cigar last week because the Dolphins got them, and that's nothing to be ashamed of. I mean, the Dolphins are a good team. The Dolphins did what
Hmm.
they're supposed to do. They were supposed to beat the Raiders, and they beat the Raiders. But to that point, you're absolutely right. The Raiders have not looked bad at all since Pierce took over. They are a 10-point dog. You know, Kansas City is a 10-point favorite here, 43 and a half over and under. I just don't know how Kansas City is doing it. They really don't have a great offense other than Mahomes. They do have a good running back in Pacheco. He's nothing great, nothing to make you want to be like, wow, Pacheco. But he's very, very serviceable. And then they have Kelsey. And other than that, they have no wide receivers, man. Like you said, SMV. I mean, uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Scantlin.
yeah. SMV dropping that, bro. I thought that's okay. I'm like, here's Mahomes doing his thing, dropping the dime, boom, touchdown. He's bringing his team back, and he drops it. That's this kind of play. If Tyreek's there, that's a touchdown. We're talking a whole different thing, you know. And then to watch Watson, who was having a good game, drop two passes, especially the fourth down one that really he needed, or the third down one he really needed at the first down, dropped it, and the look on Mahomes' face. And to me, that's the Chiefs front office's fault. Go get receivers. You got the best quarterback in the world. Go get him some damn receivers that can catch the ball. Stop getting these B list and C list receivers for him. You had one with Tyreek. You thought you were big and bad. You got rid of him, and you won a Super Bowl. So now you really think that you're great. But he needs receivers, man. Travis Kelsey cannot do it all on his own because Travis is getting up there in age as it is, and now he's all distracted with all his off the field shit. You know, so you're seeing Kelsey. He hasn't looked very great the last couple of games. Mahomes is the only one that is still looking like a superstar. Other than that, they don't have an offense. I don't know how they're doing this. They're 7-3. Andy Reid's a great coach. That plays into it. Their defense has been good. They're going to play in Vegas against a tough Raider team. I think Antonio Pierce is going to have these boys fired up and ready to go. From a fantasy standpoint, I just had to get that out about that game and that team because I got to rant some. I got to get a little something out here. Can't just hold it all in. But from this game, I like Mahomes all day. 8,700. I'd still play him. I could build a team around Mahomes. Kelsey 8,300 is very expensive, but he's Travis Kelsey. I don't know if I'll play him this week though. I'm waiting for Devontae Adams to have a Devontae Adams type game. Quarterback play has a lot to do with that with him. 7,700 is kind of expensive for me for Devontae. Josh Jacobs 7,100. You could run Josh Jacobs out there at 7,100, even though the Chiefs defense is a top 10 run defense. I probably, if I was going to take a receiver off of the Raiders, I'd take Jacoby Myers at 6,600. And Isaiah Pacheco, I like Isaiah Pacheco. I think he can have a big game this week, a very big game. So those are the guys I would be looking at. And I may look at Rashee Rice at 5,700. I may, if I needed one of those players down there, I may look at Rashee Rice. What about you, bro?
You know what? It's I'm looking at these stats and it's like I looked at 4 players and there's 4 players. There's 4 other players that you could put in front of these guys on for this week. It's like Mahomes. We're talking about okay, play Mahomes 8,700, 17, 15, 7, 34, 18. That's Mahomes' last 5 games. He had 1 game over 20 points, and you're going to pay over 8,700. Yeah, I ain't touching Mahomes right now. Kelsey, 11, 2, 8, 29, 16. Last 3 games, Kelsey hasn't got barely over 15 fantasy points. You're paying 83. 83, you got to at least get 3 times of that. You know what I mean? Yeah, you're playing the Raiders. Pacheco, 965. 6,600. Yeah, I would play Pacheco. You're right, Lonnie. Like, I would play Pacheco this week. Rashee Weiss, 6, 8, 7, 14, 9. 1 game over 10 points. But for 5,700, yeah, Rashee Rice against the Raider team that's kind of banged up. I seen a thing that Max Crosby might be out, but Kelsey, yeah, he could go off against the Raiders, honestly. But the Raiders haven't been living. Miami didn't go off against the Raiders. With their firepower, what they have, they didn't go off against them. So it's just but you can't go wrong. Mahomes and Kelsey can't go wrong. But man, that's $1,700 right there
Yep.
for 2 guys.
Yep.
That's one of them that, I don't know. It's just, Mahomes is not the firepower quarterback that he's been lately. It's not his fault. It's not his fault. He just don't have no receivers. And then on the Raiders side, I think Josh Jacobs the only one I would touch. Michael Mayer, if you want to go with the cheap tight end, just to kind of, take a chance. I like him. He's been getting targets. But I think Josh Jacobs on the Raiders side, And the Chiefs side, it's not saying, I mean, you can't, I mean, you have to go with those guys. I mean, you see him, everybody goes with Kelsey, but for 8,300, I ain't touching Kelsey, man. I don't care if he scores 15 points, 20 points. I ain't touching Kelsey. Not at $8,300. There's no way.
Yeah, I
There's no
agree.
way.
I agree 100%. I probably would not be playing any of these guys in my lineup if they're all too expensive. And just for exactly what I just said before it all started, Mahomes really doesn't have anyone but Kelsey. That's it. And Kelsey can't do it all. So, yeah, I'd probably fade this game altogether. I probably would not play anyone from either
I,
one of these.
I like Josh Jacobs. I mean, I do like Josh Jacobs and Pacheco, though. Out of those two, honestly, I mean, I could throw Pacheco in there, 6,600. I could throw him in there
Pacheco,
for sure.
yeah, yeah, you're absolutely. That's my only one guy, and even Josh Jacobs, I probably wouldn't play this week, but Pacheco at 6,600, he has a good matchup. So if
Yep.
you're looking for a cheap running back, yeah,
Mhm.
he could fit that role for you and probably have a decent game. But man, you're right. The Raiders have looked different since Antonio Pierce has taken over. They look nasty, man. They look
Mhm.
nasty. So I don't think this is the same old Raider team that and they always play the Chiefs tough no matter what their records are, too. That's
Mhm.
another thing. It's just a long-standing division rivalry. So I expect it to be a tight game, a good game. Now, this next game on the slate, um, the Eagles and the Bills. Eagles are at home. They were interviewing Jalen Hurts after the game, and he's like, "Yeah, we're still figuring it out." That's and that's what we've been saying all year about them. They have not done anything that makes me think that they're a 9-1 team other than win and be 9-1. They don't look
Mhm.
like the dominant Eagle team, but they just figure out a way to win. They play consistent. AJ Brown has just been a beast, even though he had an off game last week. Jalen Hurts has been getting it done. Swift has given them an aspect to their offense that they haven't had in such a long time. And so that's what they're doing. This game is 48.5 over and under. If you want to get in a game, this is a game you got to get into in fantasy. There'll be a lot of players here. Philadelphia is favored by 3 points. What is your take on this game?
This is going to be a good matchup game. A lot of guys, but man, the money is high this game. Josh Allen 92, Diggs 87, Dalton Kincaid 6. But this is going to be a game that you're going to play everybody. I mean, you're going to put them on your daily fantasy. You are. I mean, you're going to put Josh Allen in, but 9,200. Woo, that's rich, man.
Right.
That's rich. I mean, Diggs is going to, a Philly's been giving up big plays to receivers. And it's just, I mean, it's high money. But I mean, I'm Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs this week, Kincaid. I'm rolling with Kincaid lately. He's been getting his touches and stuff. James Cook. He had a good game last week before, not too bad. Philly's defense is number one ranked rush defense. But man, it's big money, man. Josh Allen, that's a lot of that's big money. But I would play Diggs this week. I would play Josh Allen this week. I would. I mean, those guys, like I said, Philly's been giving up big plays. And on the other side, I'm playing Hurts. I'm playing Jalen Hurts against the Bills. Bills defense. Oh, I'm playing Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is going to score over 30 fantasy points this week.
Right.
Jalen Hurts is scoring over 30 fantasy points this week. AJ Brown. I'm playing AJ Brown. Jalen Hurts is 88 and Josh Allen's 92. That's crazy. I think Jalen Hurts is going to have a better game than Josh Allen this week.
Yeah.
AJ Brown, 88. Devontae Smith. I like Devontae Smith this week. The last couple weeks he's been getting. I like Devontae this week. I like Devontae Smith. I like AJ Brown. You can't go wrong with that. Swift, Green. Buffalo's defense is what, 6th and run, but I like the big three this week: Hurts, Brown, and Smith.
Yeah.
And on the Bills side, I like Allen and Diggs,
Yeah.
and Kincaid maybe. But
Yeah, Kincaid's been coming around. He really has, and it's a great matchup for him.
yeah,
The Eagles aren't very good against the tight end, 24th against the position. So, uh, very good, very good matchup. And then I'm with you. You know, you can play Josh Allen because he has a great matchup. The Eagles are not very good against the position, 25th in the league. AJ Brown had such a horrible game last week that I expect a big bounce back game from him. And there's nothing that the Bills can do to stop him. There really isn't. I mean, they have a top 10 defense against receivers, but this is not a normal receiver, you know.
For price rise, though, I mean, for price wise, who you starting?
Yeah,
Are you starting
so
Josh Allen or are you starting Josh Allen or Jalen
no,
Hurts?
I would start Jalen Hurts at that price
Same
because
here.
it's going to give me
Same here.
400 more dollars somewhere else, and I don't
And
even
I think
know.
Jalen Hurts is gonna do
Yeah,
better.
I don't know if I want to stack Hurts with AJ because that would cost me. You know, we're looking at $1,700 now um, to do
I like
to do
Devontae
that.
this week,
Yeah,
man.
that's what I would do. I would stack him if I had to stack him. I would stack him with the Devontae, and if I was doing a triple stack, I would bring DeAndre Swift in with those two guys, and that's how I would go about my business on that. Steph Diggs, if I'm not doing that on that other side, I would play Steph Diggs, and you know this is almost a game where if you play Jalen Hurts and run it back with Steph Diggs, then
But look,
then maybe you have Swift as a running back, you know, something like that.
this is the game, but this is the game if you do the quarterback, and like we're talking earlier, what did we say earlier about a couple players? Low receivers, 80, 5,800,
Yep.
5,600, fifty seven
Josh
hundred.
Downs.
You do the yes. So you do the Jalen Hurts and you do the AJ Brown and you do the Rashad White, and then you go get your Josh at Downs,
Yeah,
or you go get your
and then
Rashid
maybe you
Shaheed
can
and take a chance to
afford
but
Diggs or something like that to run it back.
exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. So you do that first, you hit your cheap, and then you go back and then see what you got in the middle.
And I do like Dalton Kincaid at 6,000, man. He's been getting a lot of
Mhm.
targets. The last 6 games, he's had at least 8 targets. He's only missed 7 targets one time, and they're really starting to use their tight end. They finally are, and him and Josh Allen are getting chemistry. So I like Kincaid. I would start Kincaid just flat out at tight end this week,
Yeah, because you could go back because you could go back and look Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz is 6,800. Kincaid 6 grand.
right?
So right there, that price wise, 6 grand is
Nope.
not bad. And then like we said, and like I said 2 minutes ago, if you need a cheap tight end and you feel comfortable with your lineup that's stacked and this guy goes off like a Michael
Yep.
Meyer, he's cheap. Or you know, he's a cheap tight end. He's been getting targets. And you never know. He gets that touchdown, boom, 10 points, and you just got 10 points for a guy, you know, that shouldn't have got it. So, you know, you want to stack your lineup, but then you want to, you know, play both sides. You never know.
Exactly. I agree. And I like Philadelphia, man, to be 10-1 in this game. You know,
I
I'm okay with that.
I I want Philly to win
No, you don't.
because I want Philly to win because I don't want them to be on a losing streak when they play the San Francisco 49ers. And but I think Buffalo Bills are winning this game.
We'll see. We'll see. Um,
I I think Buffalo's going to win this game, but I want Philly to
I've
win.
just about lost confidence in the Bills right now. They're gonna have to show me something. But they
I
can
know.
win.
Yeah, me
But they
too.
can win for sure. They can be anybody. They still can be anyone. So I wouldn't be shocked if they went into Philly and won. But I think the Eagles get it done. Our next game, and this is the Sunday night game, the Ravens and the Chargers. The Ravens are 3.5 point favorites. The over under is 48.5. Another high scoring game that they're expecting here. There's a lot of players that we can really look at from this game. This game is really could really be a high scoring affair.
This game's going to be a captain game.
Uh,
This game's going to be a
yeah,
multiply game.
yeah. So this is a single. This is a single game. You know, it's one of those single games, and you know, I I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure. I don't like Lamar, even though the matchup is so. See, this is what Lamar's been doing to me all year. And
I
if I'm
know.
doing a captain game like this, the
I
MVP
know.
game, I'm okay with playing Lamar in a game like because you know it's either him or Herbert, or you can have him and Herbert. So I'm okay with Lamar. This is a great matchup. Justin Herbert. Uh, this is a tough matchup for Herbert because the Ravens defense is really tough on quarterback. And Keenan Allen, we'll see. He just keeps surprising me. But in the single game, he's 15,000. You know, but you figure it out. You figure out a way to get Lamar, Allen, Eckler, um, maybe Justin Tucker, and I don't know, Isaiah Likely. I think Isaiah Likely is a great play here because Andrews is out, and in this type of game, he's probably going to be chalked though. Isaiah Likely in any little turn in any of these single game tournaments you get into, whether it's on FanDuel or DraftKings, Isaiah Likely's probably going to be the chalk. And that backfield from the Ravens is just anyone's guess. Gus Edwards each week continues to get touchdowns and just surprise the hell out of me. So I can't go.
That's why I think this week's a Keaton Mitchell, you know? I mean, you're not playing a great defense, and like you said, everybody's gonna pick Likely. Everybody's gonna pick Edwards. You take that chance and you put Keaton Mitchell in. He's gonna get some carries. He might not be the starter. He's gonna get 10. Chargers are not a great defense. This is a game that you put Keaton Mitchell in, and he gets you some points because not a lot of other
I
people are
agree.
gonna have him.
Who else you like in this game?
Lamar. He does this to us, like you said. Lamar is playing the Chargers, and you're like, oh, he's going to go off. You have to start Lamar, Lonnie. You have to put Lamar in. You have to. I mean, I don't know if he's burned everybody $1,700, boy, for the captain. You know what? I mean, you have to put him in on that multiplier up
Yep.
top on that captain. You have to. Lamar is the one that and then you pick somebody from Chargers, Keenan Allen, you got to go with Keenan Allen. You got to go with Lamar, but I like Keaton Mitchell this week. I mean, yeah, you think, okay, Gus Edwards, but I like Keaton because he's going to be cheaper. And you put a Keaton in there because he's going to be cheaper. And then you put probably, Dick or the kicker or something like that. Or like Alani said, Tucker. But, and then Likely, like you go with the Lamar, Likely, Keaton Mitchell, Keenan Allen, and maybe OBJ or something like that. But you have to go with Lamar this week. That's pretty much. I mean, this
Yeah.
is a tough game
Yeah.
to think of, and I think, oh man, I don't know. I think the Chargers are going to win this game. Hold on, I don't think they're going to win this game. I think they have to win this game because Staley's gone if they don't win this game. Staley's going to. He's
You
already
see his
gone.
press conference, man? His press conference sounded like a defeated
Oh, he
a
has no idea what he's
defeated
saying. He has no
coach that
idea what he's doing.
was like looking over his shoulder like
I'm going to be the defense
right.
coordinator. I'm going to be the defense coordinator. I'm running the defense coordinator. Nobody's
So let's
asking you
just
that. I'm
clear
going to be
that
the
up and
defense
don't ask me
coordinator.
again. It's like, bro,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I thought
Okay.
you're the head
All
coach,
right.
but are
Right
you the
on.
defensive
All right.
coordinator? Which is it?
All right. Let's get to the purple, baby. Let's get to the game. Okay. Let's get to the real game. I know you've been waiting all week. Let's
Yeah,
go.
man.
Let's get to the game. Let's get to the game. Who do you got in
Yeah,
this game,
I
though?
wish our boy Chris Wilson was here right now so we could have a nice little conversation about this game, right? He's
Oh,
a big Bears fan. I'm a Vikings
dang, man. You
fan.
know what, man? Hey, you know what? Out of the guys that we do this fantasy with, the Niners are my team. Lonnie's the Vikings. We didn't do a podcast. We got Chris Wilson, that is a diehard Chicago fan, and is
Right?
not doing and him and Lonnie can't go at it. And it's maybe it's best, but I'm just saying. But who do you got on the
On
Chargers
the
game, Lonnie?
Chargers game? Uh
And the
Oh
Ravens game?
yeah,
Who do you
yeah.
got?
I thought I said I do have Lamar. Yeah, I'd play Lamar and Allen. I played Austin Eckler for sure. I would still run Austin Eckler
Okay.
out there, and that's where I would start. And then I may round it out with either Tucker or Dicker, maybe a Donald Parham. At that price 7,000. But when in these things, man, sometimes you reach a little bit. Maybe you don't have much, and
Yeah, you have to.
Rashad Bateman gets a touchdown or two, or he has a big night for a change. These are the
Yeah,
kind of games you could take
yeah.
the chance. Justice Hill, maybe. I do like Keaton
Mhm.
Mitchell too, but yeah,
Right.
yeah, I'm with you on the guys you were saying. I mean, it's you only get five. You know what I'm saying? So my five would probably
Mhm.
be something like Lamar, Allen, Eckler, and then I probably would go. likely and one of the kickers, something like that. See how that rounded out,
Yeah.
and just hope that you
Mhm.
have a good game. These are hard games to win, even though I've won one of these before, which is crazy. Shared it with 12 other people, but it's kind of half luck and half skill. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like all fantasy. But
Mhm.
yeah, that's who I like.
Mhm.
All right, so if we're gonna get down to the real game, the
The
Bears, that
Bears.
Monday
The
night
Bears.
game,
The Bears.
Vikings Bears,
And I'm not trying to talk crap. I'm not trying to talk crap, but really, Monday night, come on. The Bear not the but the Vikings, but the Bears on Monday night. The Bears, I swear, been on the most prime time this year. It's so unreal, man. It's
the
just
Bears
sickening.
have
Sickening.
had a ton of prime time, and you're right, man. The Bears have had a ton of prime time, and I'm not sure why. And that sounds
I know. That's what I say. I'm
don't
not trying to
don't
talk
don't let
crap.
don't let Chris don't
Yeah.
let Chris hear me say that. But I don't know why they've had such a big prime time, schedule. But maybe they thought I think they thought Justin Fields was going to have a good year. He was very dynamic last year, and that's probably what they were thinking about. Bears Vikings. It's in Minnesota, and the Vikings are 3-point favorites. That's about right because this is a division rivalry. They always play each other tough. Um, and it's one of those standalone games again. It's a single game. Justin Jefferson's not going to play. They haven't officially ruled him out, but they've said all reports are coming that he's not going to play yet this week. They're going to wait till after their week 13 bye and bring him back in week 14, which I can't wait to see Jefferson. And look, he's on the IR, bro, and they're still got him at 9,000. They still got him at 9,000. Like if he comes off, he's 9,000. I like Josh Dobbs in this game a lot. I also could go at Fields, but I think the Vikings defense is a little better, and they may force Fields into some turnovers. But Fields wouldn't be a bad play either. Josh Dobbs, very good play. I like DJ Moore this week, man, in this game. I really do. And Hawkinson, he's been playing banged up, but man, Josh Dobbs has proven he loves this guy. He loves he loves him some Hawkinson, man. He really gets him the ball. Addison in this game, I'm not sure about, just because Dobbs hasn't really thrown much to deep, the deep ball to the receivers. But I don't like Alexander Madison still. And we're not getting the right price range here because I couldn't get the standalone game, so I'm not sure exactly how much it is on standalone. And then I don't like any of the Bears running backs this week because Khalil Herbert's back, so you just don't know, who's going to be getting it. I like Ty Chandler though. I would take it. I'd take a chance on a Ty Chandler. But yeah, those are the guys that I like. Devonta Foreman has an ankle thing. I would if I was going to go any running back from the Bears, I'd say Foreman. But since Khalil Herbert's back, it's going to muddy the waters. And Eberflus has proven to me he doesn't know what the hell he's doing over there. Him and Luke Getzky. So that's just going to cause a problem for them. I see the Vikings winning this game, but I see it a tough game. I don't think this is just going to be like the Vikings are going to, I think this could come down to the wire, maybe last possession. It's probably going to make me a little nervous. I'll probably have to have a couple of hard alcoholic beverages in me to get through this one. um, but yeah, I see the Vikings winning it. But yeah, those are the guys that I do like for fantasy wise. And I do like the kickers on both sides. The kickers would be fine. Either kicker would be fine in this one. What about you?
Yeah, just start off, I think Vikings gonna win this game. I like Dobbs as the as the showdown, as the captain this week. I like Dobbs. I like Tyson Chandler. I like Ty Chandler. Go cheap. Just go right at the bat and find the cheapest guy. Boom. And then go to TJ Hawkinson. And I would probably do Dobbs, Hawkinson, and Chandler. And if I could throw DJ Moore in there, I probably would. But if not, then I would probably go with the Vikings defense. And then I would probably go with one of the kickers, you know. I mean, if you go with Vikings defense and go for DJ Moore, I know it's kind of, you're a pull on the same rope, you're pulling the same side, but I like it like that. I like it that way unless you wanna go DJ Moore and then you wanna go like Roshan Johnson. Roshan Johnson had a little more carries last week, more than any he's starting to get a lot of carries last week for some reason. Herbert was back, but Roshan had some carries last week. But he had a little more than usual than the other guys. I just was wondering why. At the fourth quarter in the fourth quarter, he had some carries. So, but like I said, I like Chandler. I like Chandler. He's cheaper, and he had was 71 rushing yards.
Yeah, 73 rushing
Yeah.
yards. 10
So I
carries.
like the Dobbs. So I like Dobbs, Chandler, Hawkinson, and then do DJ Moore and then Vikings defense. If you could do that, I think I looked at the lineup too. It's not up yet, or this slate's not up yet. So, but yeah, I like that. And if you can't do like that, do a couple of the kickers. But the Vikings defense haven't been too bad. Denver's running game cannot get going last week. And nothing really got going too much. It wasn't really a too high scoring game, but I like Dobbs as the front though, at the front man this week.
Yeah, and all in all, I think it's gonna be an entertaining game, and I know what you're talking about, the Bears being on, prime time so much, but I think it will be an entertaining game, and, I think the Vikings get it done, and get themselves back in the winning track, 7-5, nothing to hold your head low on after starting off 0-3 and 1-4, So, and they dropped a bad one last week. They could easily be 7-4 this week. They're 6-5 now, but I think they come out 7-5. But they can easily be 7-4 right now. They blew that game, and there's a lot of reasons. I think some of it had to do with coaching and play calling in the second half. They should have been a little more aggressive. But yeah, man. So there's your week 12 preview. And hopefully you guys got something out of this and we helped you get your lineup set for daily fantasy. In your year-long leagues, you kind of know already who to look at and who to go after. So, yeah, good luck with your playoff push and good luck this weekend. I'm Lonnie. He is Jake, and we will catch you on the next one.